Hello, this is Francis from McCaffrey's Crafts, and today I'm continuing on with my series about faction fighters. And I thought today I would explain and introduce who were the Caravats and who were the Shanavests, just so before we go into it that you can understand who these two factions were. These were probably the two of the most famous factions, and I think I touched on it earlier that they evolved into the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds. So we'll kind of look at these two factions today and just give you a bit of an introduction into them. So Caravat name came from the garment they wore. It was kind of like a necktie. So they wore these kind of neckties and they were referred to as the Caravats, while the rival faction was called the Shanavests, which translates into old vest. But what that meant was like old waistcoats. So they would wear like old waistcoats. These gangs kind of began around the kind of Tipperary, Kilkenny area, and it was more at the beginning of the 18th century, maybe late 17th century, that they were getting active. And these different gangs, they would usually meet at fairs, at markets, at meetings of all kinds throughout the 1700s and into the 1800s. And you know, it's very important to understand that these groups originally grew out of agrarian unrest. And what that means is unrest between farmers and people renting the land and between those who were collecting the rents at the time. Like, for example, the Caravats were a white boy organization. Now, if you hear white boy or white boyism, it has nothing to do with racism or nothing to do with any, it even sounds a bit weird. So a white boy was, let me just have a quick look at my notes here. Okay, so a white boy was a secret rural organization of the 18th century. They were very violent and they were defending farmers' rights. And get this, they wore white smocks when they did their attacks. So again, a white smock isn't like the clan where they wore it over their head. A smock is an outer garment worn by rural workers. And again, the whole term white boyism is like, when you see that firsthand, you're like, what? White boyism? That sounds a bit racist, doesn't it? But it has nothing to do with that. It was just a rural society, and you know, they were pretty violent. They would do some raids. They would be attacking the kind of the middle class. And, you know, that's kind of important to kind of understand that, you know, the Caravats were more the kind of poorer rural kind of organizations, while the Shanavests were more the middle class. And, you know, they pitted themselves against each other. And of course, you know, between two classes, there was a lot of hostility. You know, and with factions as well, they had an internal structure of reward and loyalty and solidarity. We're all part of the same faction, you know. And actually, I found a recorded version of the Caravats oath, the faction fighter oath that they had to send. So this is the oath that they had to swear to become a Caravat. To be true to each other and their friends, to attend all meetings when warned, no cause to excuse absence but sickness, of which sufficient proof must be given, to keep all secrets, to suffer until death rather than betray each other, or whatsoever may be seen or heard of our cause, and to stand by each other at all fairs and patrons. So there you have it, like a good oath there to swear to be the you know, to be a Caravat. Now the Shanavests who opposed them, I said, were middle class. They were anti the white boy movement, anti the rural uprest against the rents as well, and they kind of inhabited the same geographical area as the Caravats. Now, their kind of rally was, they rallied around the case of Irish nationalism, and they condemned the white boys as anti-nationals. They were saying, these guys don't care about Ireland, but it was more to do with class and money and middle class versus the rural poorer class. But here's the thing, like, what do you think? Was there more Caravats or more Shanavests? it's quite easy to figure out. Like, you know, it's always going to be more poor people than the middle class. Like a lot of poor people in Ireland at the time. So like the Shanavests were smaller in number, and as a consequence, they would lose out in faction fights quite often. You know, like from, you know, for over the years, like say from 1806 to 1811, were the kind of main time. So 1806 to 1811 was the main kind of time when these two factions were going at it like crazy. Like their conflict raged not only in Tipperary, it spread to Waterford, to Kilkenny, Limerick and Cork, all the kind of surrounding counties as well. Their violence was unprecedented compared to what had been in the past before. There would be deaths. Like faction fights wasn't always about blackthorn. If it was a fight, if you could get your hands on something better than a blackthorn, such as a gun, you'd bring that to the fair and you'd bring that to the market, and you'd have no problem using it as well. You know, so it's very important there to kind of understand just about those two factions, about their kind of ideology, about where they came from. So there you look, if you're being introduced into the world of faction fighting, the first two factions you need to know about are the Shanavests and the Caravats, because they're the ones you hear about the most. And, you know, you understand there where they came from. So I thought I'd give you a bit of an introduction into those two factions today. And thanks for watching this series, and I'll try to do as many videos as I can, time permitted. The kids will be back to school shortly, so I might have a bit more time to do more of these videos. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Bye-bye.